it's overwhelming, but it's also our jobs.
Our job is only going to get harder.
It's worrisome.
This is something that's unprecedented.
Now is not the time to be a cowboy. No one has anything to prove. We're all in this together.
Welcome to Reporting from the Front Lines of a Pandemic. I'm Elizabeth Perkin, and today I'm here with Shaynah Ferreira, a reporter at WTNH, WCTX in New Haven, Connecticut. Thanks, Shaynah, for joining me today.
Of course, glad to be here.
Our first question for you is, how have you adjusted to working during this pandemic?
Gotcha. It's been definitely an adjustment. Our personal lives have changed. Also, how we do our job also has changed. Most of us are working remotely now, so we don't work out of the station anymore. If we have to be at the station, we'll normally parked outside of the station just to have like the Wi-Fi signal to send back our video and send back our teases and our packages, but we're not allowed inside the building, so that requires a lot of preparation as far as making sure we have our B-roll in our laptops. A lot of it requires FaceTime interviews, Zoom interviews, Skype interviews. So we've really done away with a lot of the traditional ways you would expect us to get a story done. It's a lot of setup prior to. It's been remotely. I haven't worked at the station in over a month, as a reporter at least. And I have been, moved to just the comfort of our news car, or we work out of my apartment, which is also something that we've adjusted to. So my photographer and I, after we get our FaceTime interview or whatever we're doing, or maybe we just need to go get some quick B-roll of whatever I'm talking about for the day, we might work back. We might come to my apartment and work out of my kitchen here and use our Wi-Fi signal. We're live close to my apartment. It just kind of makes sense for where we are. So it varies from day to day, but the idea is to not have us working from the station, to, I guess, eliminate the potential for cross-contamination or exposure to other people. And we've also been working with the same crew for the last months to kind of maintain the same kind of person you're with every single day. That way you're not working with one photog and another reporter, and sometimes that can get a little messy, potentially. So they've been pretty good at keeping us to one specific crew as consistently as possible. So that's been the adjustment there. So it's been a challenge on some ends because you're getting used to kind of the new normal. We don't go into the station to meet up for the afternoon meeting. Everything is, we call into the meeting. So there are times where I will call into the meeting from home because maybe I have a Zoom interview set up for 3:30. I'm a nightside reporter, so that means I get in at 3 o'clock and I'm on till 11:30. So we call in at 3 o'clock. Sometimes I'll have like a virtual press conference to attend at 3:30. So sometimes I'm working from home for the first part of my day, and maybe my photographer will swing by, pick me up, and maybe we'll go get some B-roll together, or we'll shoot a tease together, and we'll come back and send everything back to the station from my house, or we'll send it back from the car, or wherever makes sense. So it's been a lot of, it varies from day to day, but you kind of have to work with what you have to get the job done, essentially. And the assignments don't change, even though the restrictions.
Exactly. How do you find the way to stay creative and stay motivated to want to continue to tell the stories of the people here in Connecticut?
Right. I mean, I think it's a little easier because we're all in it together. I don't want to say I don't have to sympathize or be empathetic because I too am living it. So it's not like I can't relate to, a person that is, on the front lines working, because, I can't relate to an essential worker because I too am an essential worker. I can talk to a nurse that's tired and been working long days, endless shifts, because we are on the front lines of it too. We don't really yes, we work remotely, but we don't get to stay home just like other professions. You get to stay home. So I think it's if anything, this allows me to be allows me to have more empathy because I'm living it too, and it keeps me motivated because I'm living it. I'm constantly thinking of, well, wow, I can't do this anymore. I wonder how this person's reacting, or wow, I really miss going to this restaurant. I wonder how the small businesses are reacting, or I miss getting my nails done or my hair done. Like how we're so like it's almost like you relate it almost back to everything you're feeling too, because you are walking in it every single day like everybody else. It's just you get a front row seat to it.
Mm-hmm. So how has your station specifically dealt with covering the news of the coronavirus?
It's been all Corona all the time, really. Our approach has been we want to inform and keep everyone in the loop of everything that's going on from the local level, from the state level to the national level. So we have adjusted to doing coronavirus updates. Normally after the 12 o'clock newscast, we have a CT Style, which is like a magazine show. And it's kind of highlights the great people and the great things going on around Connecticut. There are cooks that come on the show. It's a really lighthearted show. And I think now that whole tone of the show has shifted, and we've done more of a coronavirus update from 12:30 to 1 o'clock. And then we come back at 3 o'clock for a live update. So basically everything that happened from 12:30 to 3, we're updating you. And normally at 3 o'clock, the governor every day at 3 o'clock has been speaking, and updating the state on numbers, cases, when PPEs are coming to the state, how particular industries are holding up, when small business loans will be coming out. So we've added more shows to get people the opportunity to tune in. So we have a 3 o'clock cut in that we call it. And then there's also something that happens at 4, I believe. Depends on what mayor's speaking. Sometimes if it's the Hartford mayor, we'll cut into it. If it's the New Haven mayor, we'll cut into it. So from 3 to 4, you can just pretty much assume that WTNH is on from 3 o'clock till 6:30. We have a 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. And then we expanded our shows right in time for the pandemic, if you could believe it. So 8 and 9, we have an 8 o'clock show, a 9 o'clock show on top of our 10 and 11. So we provided plenty more opportunities for people to stay connected, stay informed, and get the information they need to make their decisions going forward as they navigate this with their families at home.
How do you guys keep, there's so much information coming out every day, hour by hour. How do you guys keep it current and also, different throughout the different hours of news that you have each day?
I think we have really great producers that do a great job of compartmentalizing everything. We always start off with number of cases, the deaths, how many people are hospitalized, and what's next. What's coming next? What's the relief? It's almost like here's what's going on, but here's the relief on the way. Yes, there are how many people in the hospital, but stimulus checks, the first round just went out, or X amount of dollars worth of PPEs on the way to Hartford Hospital, or X amount of this on the way to Yale New Haven Hospital, or Yale is opening up, or Southern Connecticut opening up X amount of dorms for first responders. So there's always something we try to, I feel like how I've been watching it is there's always an insert of some kind of positive thing to look forward to. I think it's very easy to constantly put out what's going on, what's wrong, what's going on. And for a lot of viewers, it can get overwhelming. As a journalist, sometimes it gets overwhelming because you almost get anxious watching the news. But I think we've done a really good job here, and I think really I can speak for all the stations. I think I've done a really good job of making sure that there's not only the dreadful news of the unfortunate deaths that we're seeing and the hospitalizations, but there's also this idea that yes, this is horrible, but here's actually something hopeful and positive that we can let you know it's gonna happen or has happened today. So that's kind of how we've balanced it. But there is a lot of information, and it's hard to kind of order it. I'm not a producer, so can't really speak from that perspective. But I feel like they do a really good job of putting everything out there from the beginning, and then mixing it up with local, state, national response, local, state, national response. You're getting all ends of this whole unseen pandemic.
Yeah. Do you get multiple packages a day to keep up with the different stories, or you take one story and make that your package for the night?
Like for my assignment.
Mm-hmm.
So my assignment varies from day to day. It may be like, because we have so many shows to cover, I might come in at 3:00 and might be live on a press conference from the mayor of New Haven, giving the recent numbers or any new developments in New Haven that are of use and of importance, especially given the fact that our station is the only station in the market that's actually based in New Haven. Everyone else is more north toward Hartford. So we are considered the New Haven station, so to speak. So a lot of what comes out of New Haven, we make sure we put out there first because it's kind of our home base. So I'll come in at 3:00. I might be live at 5 on something that Elliker has just said, or an update for New Haven, and that might be for 5 and 6. And then for 8, 9, 10, and 11, I might be able to pull something from that press conference. Like, he mentioned that this new homeless shelter is opening up, or he said, this university is opening up X amount of dorms for first responders. So sometimes I watch with the idea of what can I pull for later that I can expand on. So sometimes it ends up like that. Other times I will pitch a story. Like I believe one time I pitched a story about farmers markets being in high demand, how that so many common items that people go to for the grocery store are out. So you have local farmers that have the eggs and have the milk and have the meats and have the jam, the fruit, and things of that nature. So I pitched a story about how local farmers are actually being helped during this pandemic, and it was a nice twist to things. So I was able to do something like that, but I had to first be live at 5 just to smooth over and see what was coming out of this Elliker presser. And once I handled those live shots at 5 and 6, then I would be able to move on to my farmers market story and turn something. So sometimes it's the same, sometimes it's completely different. Sometimes one comes from another. But it really just depends on the day and how the news cycle goes for that particular moment.
Do you find it easier now to get interviews and get people to agree to them, or do you find it harder because everyone's like, I'm at home, I don't want to go out? I know there's like Zoom and Skype and FaceTime, but like technology is challenging for some. Would you say, how has it been for you?
It's been harder to get people to agree to speak in person. I think people are more apt to say, yeah, I'll talk to you on the phone, or yeah, I'll talk to you on FaceTime or Skype. They've done a really good job with that. So I wouldn't say it's been hard to get people to talk. Oftentimes I find the hardest part is getting them to talk on Skype, on Zoom, for technical purposes. Sometimes they can't get it to work on their end, and that's probably the biggest issue that I've run into. Or sometimes it's like, I will talk to you, but I'm home, my kids are running around, can I talk to you tomorrow, or can I talk to you in an hour? So you kind of have to brace for that because everyone's home and they're kind of dealing with an uncontrolled environment. They're not in their office where they can just close the door and have it be quiet. But I do think that people understand the situation that we're in, and they've been definitely more open to talking with us, even if it's virtually. And in our interviews, I feel like 90% of them at this moment are not in person. They're all virtual, Skype, FaceTime, Zoom. Even on the phone, I will put a graphic over the person. Sometimes if they can't get it to work and we're on a time crunch, I'll just say, hey, can I just call you? I'll record the phone call and I'll put a graphic over the person. And, I'll put the verbatim of what they're saying. That way, if it's a little hard to understand, someone at home can still read, like, oh, this is what the police chief is saying. Or, oh, this is what the CEO of this hospital is saying, even if they, for some reason, they can't understand it or it's too low or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that people want continued coverage of the coronavirus? Do you think it's become too overwhelming that people want some sort of lighthearted, happier news? I know Connecticut has its areas of like good news and bad news, but like everything now is always coronavirus, whether it's happy or sad. Do you think people want like something that's not coronavirus related anymore?
I think people are getting a little overwhelmed with the coronavirus news that comes out, minute by minute at this point. Which is why I think we at the local level are trying to do more stories that are encouraging, that are lighthearted, that are feel-good stories. Because I think it's natural for anybody to watch every single day and feel overwhelmed. I think the general consensus that I have been privy to is people are growing a little weary. And that's why it's important to listen to that and offer something else, offer an opportunity for them to laugh or smile or feel good about something happening in their own backyard. I think we've acknowledged that, we realize that, and that's why our stories have begun to reflect that.
Mm-hmm. Now, like since yesterday, I would say the Northeast specifically and a little bit of the West have talked about what the future holds when we can go back to normal. But do you think there is back to normal, or do you think that your job specifically like can never go back to the way it was before?
I'm really not sure. That's a hard question. I think that I'm not sure if it'll never go back to normal. I think that I think we want it to go back to normal. I can speak for everyone when I say they would love to just have this be over and everyone start like nothing ever happened. But I think, it may change a little. I feel like it may change how we do our jobs or how we look at our jobs in the future. Like, okay, especially for those that maybe can't do an in-person interview. Okay, let's do a Skype interview. I think that we maybe, if anything, there'll be a little more leniency on how we get the story and how we talk to someone. I'm not sure how drastically it's going to change how I do my job, whether I'm going to a station anymore or, the station at the end of the day is a building. But I think, if anything, we might be a little more open to other avenues to talk to people, which is nice.
Mm-hmm. So what would be some advice that you would give someone like myself wanting to enter the field of news and broadcast journalism?
Something I wish I was told when I first got into this business was that you're going to shed a lot of tears. It's not going to be easy. This business is not for the weak of heart. It's hard. It can be very cutthroat. So you have to really, really want this. You have to you have to enter it with an end goal in mind at all times. You have to be passionate about it. You have to want to tell stories, because there are going to be moments where you're going to feel broken. There are going to be moments where you feel like, I can't do this. You're going to feel moments where you're going to be alone and discouraged and feel like, why am I in this? These are just the facts. I think that a lot of times coming out of a school like Emerson, they prep you and they prep you and they prep you and they prep you, and they do an amazing job. But there's a mental and emotional and a psychological component to that I think that they don't do a good job of conveying. It's hard. You're going to move, for your first job, you're likely going to move thousands of miles away from everything you know, and you're going to start new. So there's a shift that happens in your head, there's a shift that happens in your heart, there's a shift that happens, and you walk into a job some days and think, I got this, and there are other days you walk into it and say, I can't do this. So I think that you have to be passionate. You have to remember why you're in it and constantly remind yourself, and always find the joy in your job. If you can't find the joy in your job, you're probably in the wrong job. So you have to, I think it's very important to recognize that, to prepare yourself for it, because there are going to be some rough days, some rough months, some rough seasons. But it is worth it in the end if this is something you're truly passionate about, and this is a field that you want to grow in and ultimately succeed in. That's my biggest piece of advice to someone that's coming into this business. Make sure this is what you want, and make sure you're passionate about it, because this business will push you, it will break you. But if it's something that you truly feel is for you and you're passionate about, there's nothing that can stop you.
That is some great advice. Thank you, Shaynah, for taking the time to talk with me today. And thank you for all the work you're doing to keep us informed and safe. And also a big thanks to all of you for watching this episode of Reporting from the Frontlines of a Pandemic. I've been talking with Shaynah Ferreira, a reporter at WTNH, WCTX in New Haven, Connecticut. I'm Elizabeth Perkin.